rejection is one of those things which is innately a hard thing for anyone to swallow. Like, anytime you get rejected, is it a job? Is it your partner? Is it your family or friends? It doesn't matter where the rejection is coming from. It hurts so bad, simply because as human beings we are fine-tuned to want to have companionship in the form of friendship, in the form of family. We are hardwired not to be rejected or as outcasts, because obviously back in the day, if you were rejected, then you would be left outside to fend for yourself, and you were gonna die. The animals, the lions were gonna get you. They were gonna get you. So basically, we've been hardwired to know that we're supposed to be in the company of at least other people and be accepted in a community, regardless of what it is, family or otherwise. And so rejection comes to us in a way that is painful. And I've seen people say things like, even science has proven that being rejected or experiencing heartbreak is the same feeling as you've chopped off your finger, now you're bleeding and in pain. Your brain interprets that same pain in the same way. And obviously, if your brain is telling you you're in pain, you're really in pain. It's actual pain. So let's not also disregard people when they say that they're feeling rejection or feeling sad or feeling a certain way. And I would like for you to echo or add something else on top of that with regard to rejection.
I feel like we never address it as much as we should. It's not a topic anyone wants to talk about. And even when you bring up the topic of rejection, I think it's a Kenyan thing where they'll just dismiss it and minimize it with ukiachwa achika, akikataa sijui rudi soko. And we laugh about it, but it's not really easy. Ukiachwa is not really easy kuachika, because sometimes you want closure, sometimes you think maybe they're joking, this is a bad prank. Sometimes your brain is just not processing that I've been rejected. And it's not even in relationships, even in jobs.
Yep.
I remember being rejected from this job, and I even saw somebody tweet the other day where the recruiter sent them the rejection letter 3 times, and they were like, wait, you did not have to do it all those 3 times. Why did you do that? She was like, oh, sorry, it was a clerical error. But he said it felt so personal to receive a rejection letter thrice.
Times.
That was just horrible for him. So yeah, rejection happens all the time.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the thing is that when you're going through the different, because there are 5 stages of rejection, just like grief, there are 5 stages of it. And I think they're kind of the same 5 stages. Because unfortunately, when you are on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, whoa, you are really going through it. And the 5 stages of rejection, as we all know, are denial, where you've been rejected and you're like, what? Not me? How could they reject me of all people? It's just absolute disbelief, right? And then you are now angry. You're like, but why did they choose that other person over me? What makes them better than me? How could they? How dare they? They don't know how I've been through. They don't know what I've been through. They don't know how hard I've had to work for this. And it's just becoming a very angry space where you're just like, oh, why me? Why did they do this? And then ultimately, especially as Turi, with the example that Turi gave of like the person who received a rejection letter 3 times, you try and bargain. You're like, maybe it's because they don't know me well enough. Like if they knew me, they probably wouldn't reject me.
If I showed up physically,
they probably would have accepted me. If I put in more effort, if I was there a little earlier, like you try and find all these other excuses which would justify them not having given you that position or them having left you out of that relationship. You try and find those and you patch them into the space so that you're like, give me a chance to fight for myself, give me a chance to defend myself, give me a chance to show up in the way that I think you would have wanted me to show up. And finally, when all the people are like, no, that's not it, I actually didn't care much for that either, you start to get into depression because you're sad, you're embarrassed, you're feeling lonely and low. Like there's so many emotions going through you that you're just like, oh. Unfortunately, you can get into a bit of depression, seasonal depression maybe. Hopefully you don't stick into that depression for long enough, because ultimately you realize that, hey, there's always a next job. There's always a next relationship. There's always that person who will love me more than that person loved me. It's okay. You just are accepting of this state of things, and you kind of just move on with the fact that I will grow, I will learn from this, I will become better because of this experience. So these are the different 5 stages of separation and rejection. But the question is, how do you deal with it as a person? And I think we can try and get like personal stories about how we've dealt with rejection. Turi just gave us one. How did you deal with that rejection once you were rejected from the job?
I feel like you just recognize that you're not the first person to be rejected, and it's a way of life. It's like when you fall, you wake up. You don't just stay seated there crying over what has happened. You just don't cry over spilt milk. So you just recognize, listen, yes, I have been rejected, but it is a part of life. I can't, there would be no spice of life. It would be so boring if I got everything that I wanted when I wanted it immediately, no waiting period, no try again later. So it's just a part of life. It's character building, and I feel necessary because some people do need to experience some amount of rejection, because it's very necessary. By the way, some people, your ego is over here. You're always thinking life is moving smoothly, and you need to be at least humbled down to see other people's perspective, to realize, hey, listen, this is not how the world works. So just recognize that it's part of the human experience.
It really is, and accepting that it happened. And this especially happens, especially in relationships. You see that a lot of people do not, like, you can't grapple with the fact that someone has rejected you, and you are just in denial, and complete denial. Instead of moving from denial to bargaining, you're stuck at denial. You're like, no, how could they shouldn't have. And unfortunately, this is where a lot of people act out. This is where a lot of people start to do funny things. I've been watching, I watched this show called Friends from College, where when this man found out that his wife was cheating on him, and by the time he's like, I want a divorce, he then does the most menacing thing. He grabs her phone, gets access to all of her contacts, records a message of himself explaining the whole story about how my wife cheated on me. She's the one who let another man's appendage be inside her. And then he proceeds to call everyone on her phone, everyone, clients, friends. It didn't matter, as long as you were on her phone book. He called, and he played that recording for every single person on her phone book. And now she's just like, okay, did it make you feel better? Did it make you feel and he's just like, no, it didn't, but I'm still going to go through with it. It's those malicious things that you do when you are in denial that can lead to even worse situations. Let's stop staying in denial and actually accept this happened.
Yeah.
It sucks.
And also treat yourself with compassion. In the morning when you wake up, be the kindest person to you. Be kind to yourself. I saw somebody on the internet say that there's nothing horrible you can tell me about myself that I have not told to myself.
Yep.
And I was like, why are we always so cruel with ourselves?
Yep.
We are so hard on ourselves. So when you experience rejection, you try to find fault in yourself. You try to blame yourself. You're so hard. You're like, I'm such a failure. I'm such a this and this. I am not worthy. So when a rejection happens, just realize it's a part of life, and also be kind to yourself. Extend yourself some grace. Be like, you know what, we'll try again. Yeah, it didn't work out today, it'll work out tomorrow.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. And that, again, I think that's also part of bargaining. When you're bargaining and you're trying to convince this person that, no, I could do better, you tend to self-hate a lot. You're always like blaming yourself and giving yourself fault for all these things. So just believe that you are still in the bargaining process, you will be fine. Another very important one is staying healthy. Oh my God, how many movies have you watched where when something horrible form of, I don't know, pain or rejection or heartbreak, immediately you see somebody with a big tub of ice cream like this size. You see someone with like all the crisps, all the Cheetos, all of these snacks, a big bottle of soda, and they're just covered up in a blanket, sitting and eating. That's all they're doing. Watching junk TV, sitting, eating, and crying. How many times have we seen that scene? It's literally almost every other movie, right? However, why would that be your natural reaction? We've also seen the vice versa, which is when people are rejected, they go to the gym and they go hard. They are gaining muscle, they are looking trim and fit, and they are looking glowed up. And these are two extremes, because if you are not dealing with your emotions, you are just putting that energy into something else, it can be detrimental to you. Why not just go the simpler way? Take it a step at a time. Be healthy. You can eat ice cream, but you don't have to eat a whole tub of ice cream. You can have crisps when you're sad and eat, but you don't have to overeat, you know, or you don't have to undereat. You can just like be at the gym, but you don't have to overdo it, overexert yourself at the gym to get rid of this pain. Just be healthy. Take a walk first. You know, start from a walk, then go to a treadmill, then go to an elliptical. Like, take a step at a time in your way to health as you are healing. Yeah?
Yeah, and also let's not just make that our whole identity. Have
Right?
you ever met somebody
Oh, girl, I did.
who made their whole, you know, something tragic that happened to them, and they made it their whole identity? I am the girl who failed math. I am the girl who got rejected from this and this and this. I am the girl who was not able to date Drake. Please. When Drake denies your DM, you say, hey, over, I'm in Toronto, I'm in Canada, and he says, no, thank you for touring our city. You know, like, if you're rejected, don't make it your whole personality. Don't feel the need to tell everyone you meet that you're rejected. You know, you're just having a fun conversation, you met for drinks, and you're like, you remember the time I was rejected from this and that? And like, why? Don't try to make that you. It's a passing thing. It's part of the process. So yeah, it happened. Boo-hoo. Let's move on. Keep moving and don't let it define you.
Absolutely. And that is pretty much growing from the process. And I think ultimately also growing from it in that way, because you are strengthening yourself.